What's up, family? Hey, there's a lot of talk about you should never look behind you because you're not going that way. I see that post and stuff like that all over social media. I understand what they're saying, but I don't believe that that's accurate. What I mean by that, there has to come a time in your life where, from time to time, you have to stop and look behind you. You have to stop and reflect on where you've been. And you can only reflect on where you've been by looking behind you. You have to be able to see all the things that you've gone through. You got to see all the trials and the tribulations and the setbacks and the failures and the disappointments you've had in your life to be able to appreciate where you're at. If you don't ever take the time to sit back and reflect on where you've been, how can you truly appreciate where you're at? They go hand in hand, like the yin yang. You have to be able to look back at where you came from. You have to be able to appreciate the hard times, the lonely times, the frustrating times. You have to be able to sit back and say, dang, I've been through hell. But you know what? I'm glad that I went through that hell because it made me stronger. It made me tougher. It made me get on my grind more. It made me value my life more. It made me value my time and my energy more. Man, I'm glad I went through all those failed relationships because in every one of them I learned more about myself. I learned to set healthy boundaries. I learned that people weren't going to just disrespect me and walk all over me. I learned how to effectively communicate. I learned how to talk even when I was mad, even when I was hurt. I learned not to be disrespectful. People, and I see this a lot, especially when I talk to people that are in church. People forget where they came from. People forget all the hard times that they had, and they act like they've always been there, and they've always lived this life. And that ain't true, you know. And I talk a lot to young people, how tough is your comeback game, you know? Everybody has a sad story. Everybody's gone through some stuff. Everybody's gone through heartache. Everybody's gone through disappointments. And if you haven't, keep living. I promise you, you're going to see it. you know, keep living. That's what the old heads used to tell me when I was a kid. Oh, you ain't went through nothing yet? Keep living. Keep living. Oh, you ain't had it hard yet? Keep living. You're going to go through some difficult times. You're going to go through some challenging times. And you're going to realize that you were the problem the great majority of the time. It ain't everybody else. It's you too. Keep living. How strong is your comeback game, though? How strong is your comeback game? I remember growing up, I had it rough, real rough. People wouldn't believe that I'm where I'm at right now if they looked at where I came from. And what I mean by that, man, at 2, my father murdered my mom. At 6, I was molested twice in church. I grew up in a verbally abusive and physically abusive household. I was constantly beat down, told I was stupid. I wasn't going to amount to nothing. I was going to end up in prison the rest of my life or dead before I was 18. I went through a whole lot of stuff. I had to pay my kids' mom child support, and I had the kids. Paid her child support for 2.5 years. And I had custody of the 2 kids. I've gone through some things. As a single parent, probably 10, 12 years out of my life, my adult life. I know the struggle. I know what it means to not eat so that your kids can have food. Man, in 1996, that was the worst year of my life. And I say that laughing now. But at the time, man, I was done. I went from 235 pounds, solid muscle, to less than 150 pounds in less than 3 months. Stressed the heck out, not eating. Man, I look like a crackhead. I'm serious. And I wasn't on dope, but I look like a crackhead. I look like somebody from the movie Tales from the Crypt, all sucked up. Because I was so stressed out. And because I wasn't eating to make sure that what I would eat that night, my kids could eat the next night as leftovers. I've had people tell me that I was an epic failure. I've gone through times where I wanted to commit suicide. I contemplated for a long period of time in 96 of giving my kids to the court system because I felt like a failure. I felt like I had failed them. I've had many people walk out of my life. I failed multiple business opportunities. The guy that you see here before you in these videos, talking about all the stuff that I talk about, I haven't always been here. I haven't always been in this place in my mind where I'm at today, where I have this peace that passes all understanding, where I have this joy and this gratitude for life and this appreciation for life and love for life. I've lost a lot of family members. I've lost a lot of loved ones. I've had my only brother pass away to find out less than 5 months later that my wife and best friend has stage 4 breast cancer. And even if she did the chemotherapy and the radiation, she had 6 months max to live, is what they told me. I've gone through some things. I've sat there on the couch and listened to her cry, telling me that she didn't want to die. She wanted to live. And feeling completely helpless and hopeless. Because there was nothing I could do about it. And I wanted her to live, but I was completely powerless in that regard. But how strong is your comeback game? How many times can you fall? How many times can you fail and get back up, dust yourself off, and get back in the game? How many times can you pick yourself up? Because it's not about how hard you get hit. It's not about how many times you get hit. It's not about how many times you fall down. As long as you get up one time more than the amount of times you fall down, how strong is your comeback game? When everybody's turned their back on you, when everybody's abandoned you, when everybody's told you you ain't crap, can you pick yourself up? Can you find the courage? Can you find the inner strength to believe in yourself? To continue chasing your dreams? I had a young lady when I was in the Air Force that worked for me, told me that she didn't understand why I wanted to be a counselor. Because how was I going to counsel anybody? I was a screw up. My whole life was messed up. Who was going to want to listen to me? So she told me. And it stung. Because when I looked at my life, man, my life was all jacked up. My life was devastating, just looking at it. It was depressing. And I believed her for a minute. But now, I sit back and I think about all the young kids that I've helped. All the young kids that have completely changed their lives. Because I helped instill the confidence that they needed in them. Just by believing in them, by spending time with them, by helping them through a rough period. Not just young people. people in their 20s, in their 30s, people in their 40s. I work with elderly people who thought that they had nothing else to do, nothing else to give because nobody would listen to them. And so they feel like they had any sense of purpose left. And why shouldn't they end it? Their family don't spend time with them. Their family don't listen to them. Their family don't want anything to do with them. How strong is your comeback game? How strong is your comeback game? This video is not about me. It's about you. I talk about all the crap that I've gone through because I hope that in it you can see your life. You can see the disappointments that you've had. You can see the setbacks that you've had. And you can realize that, hey, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. And if I could pick myself up, then you could pick yourself up. See, because it wasn't some great preacher that put me on the right track. It wasn't some great teacher or counselor that put me on the right track. It was a homie. And what I mean homie. It was a dude by the name of Mitchell Ziegler, who was one of the first Crips to come into San Jose, who told me that I had to get up off the streets to do something righteous with my life. And because I had a homie that believed in me, because I had a homie that thought that I could do something righteous with my life, I had a Crip that thought I could do something righteous with my life. All the church people were telling me I had the devil in me. I didn't want nothing to do with church people. All the church people were telling me I was going to hell. They had nothing positive to say to me. It was a homie from off the streets that encouraged me to do something righteous with my life. It was a homie from off the streets that gave me the confidence to do something with my life. And because it was a homie that did that, I sit back now at 50 years old and I think about all the people that I've helped. Because one person helped me. He didn't have no college degree. He hadn't even graduated high school. How strong is your comeback game? It don't matter what everybody else say. It don't matter what everybody else do. All that matters is what you think. All that matters is what you do. I love you. Peace.